Hello, everybody. Beautiful flyover shot of our location here in Seefeld, Austria, in the Tyrolean Alps, as we get set for the European Nations Pro Cup 2023. My name is Troy Mannering, and I am joined by none other than our expert, Jolanda Gnedinger, by my side here to keep me honest and truthful throughout the day. We have a fantastic group of professional athletes in timber sports that are going to be up and getting busy with the axe and saw shortly. We'll introduce you to them and some of the other important people on the stage with our man, Marcus Float, otherwise known as Floaty, right now.
Hello everybody and welcome to the STIHL Timbersports European Nations Cup 2023! Looks like you guys are having a great time. Seefeld is on fire, and trust me, it is worth it. We've got some of the best European athletes competing today. In the morning, we had the Rookies Cup, and of course now we're getting ready for the Pros. Es wird also Zeit für die Profis, nachdem wir am Vormittag hier die wunderbaren Rookies bereits gesehen haben. Und ich darf euch an dieser Stelle unsere Schiedsrichter vorstellen. STIHL Timbersports hat sich in den letzten Jahren unglaublich entwickelt. Die Technologie ist immer besser geworden, aber umso wichtiger ist es auch hier, entsprechende Schiedsrichter zu haben. So STIHL Timbersports has made an impressive developments over the last 3 years. So it's very important to have judges to take care of everything on stage and off stage. So it was my great pleasure to welcome our first judge. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Bart Janssen. And of course, Bart is not alone. He's not just by himself. His second judge will join us right now on stage. Bitte einen Riesenapplaus für Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger. Looks like our judges brought their own fan club. Very nice. Aber sie haben ja schon gestern wirklich ganz, ganz toll gearbeitet und das wird jetzt vom Publikum belohnt. Aber nicht nur auf der Bühne brauchen wir Judges. Wir haben ja auch eine Vielzahl an Videokameras installiert. And of course the videos take care of everything that cannot be seen by the human eye. That's why we're going to go to our control center and our video judge, and that is STIHL Janssen. Here he is. Give him a wave, give him a shout. Has done a tremendous job over the last few days as we are getting ready for our athletes. Seid ihr bereit für die Nationen? Seid ihr bereit für unsere Athleten? Ich kann euch nicht hören, ich bin mir nicht sicher. Seid ihr bereit? So off we go with our athletes, starting with the team of Switzerland. Representing die Schweiz, the Swiss Pro Champion 2023, Cyril Papst, and the 2 times Vice World Champion, Christoph Geisler. Our second nation competing is the team Nordic. And let's meet the 2 Swedes, the European Trophy winner of 2022, Emil Hansen, and the Nordic Pro and 4 Nations Cup champion, Ferry Svan. Nation number 3, representing Poland. Please welcome the Vice National Champ, Marcin Dubiccy, and the European Nation Cup and European Trophy winner, Mikołaj Dubiccy. Italy is also in the house, representing their country. The French and Italian Rookie Cup winner, Michel Perrin, and the Italian Pro Champion, Alessandro Giapponi. There we go with the shake hands. Look at these massive men. with the big smiles in their face as we await the next nation, and that is Germany. Representing Deutschland, Rookie Academy and Swiss Rookie Cup bronze medalist Marcel Steinkemper, and the 3 times German champion and 4th of the last World Championship, Mr. Danny Martin. Ja, da gibt es immer weniger Platz auf unserer großen Bühne, nur weil die so breite Schultern haben, die Herren. Und das gilt natürlich auch für die nächste Nation. Representing La France, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the 3 times vice national champion, Alessandre Meurice, and the 8 times national champion of France, Pierre Pucharze. So let's give it a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nations up on stage. Da fehlt noch die 7. Nation. Und das ist das Team aus Österreich. Begrüßen wir den Vize-Staatsmeister Günther Dallinger und den Silbermedaillengewinner der European Trophy und des Four Nations Cup, den 9-fachen österreichischen Staatsmeister Armin Kugler. Das sind sie, unsere 7 Nationen, hier beim STIHL Timbersports European Nations Cup 2023. Einmal noch bitte ein Riesenapplaus für alle Akteure, denn jetzt ist noch lustig, aber gleich wird's ernst. Ladies and gentlemen, the 7 nations. Switzerland, Sweden, Poland, Italy, Germany, France, and Austria. How about that? We are ready to rock and roll. We are ready to return to the studio. Troy, Yolanda, take it away. We are ready to compete.
Thanks, Floaty, and we are ready to give you the competition as well. Yolanda, you're good to go?
I'm good to go.
All right, before we get this underway, we did have the rookie competition earlier on, so we're going to take a quick look at the nation ranking. Team Scandinavia currently in the lead with 19 points. France sitting in a close second at 13. Austria with 11.5 points in third. Poland, Germany, Switzerland, and Italy rounding out the remaining top 7 of our nation. So there is some work to be done by those remaining 4 teams, and they have definitely got the talent on stage to be able to take care of business, don't they?
Oh, they sure do it.
All right, so that's going to happen on stage as these guys are going to work as hard as they can through the 6 disciplines to try and get as many points as possible. And then those points will be calculated in along with our rookie points from earlier on in the day. And then, obviously, the highest point score will be your nation's winner. All right, so the first discipline is going to be the underhand chop, but we have the competition format now.
Athletes compete in 3 disciplines: the underhand chop, the stock saw, and the standing block chop. The times achieved will be converted into points upon completion of each discipline. In round 1, a difference of 1 point applies in each discipline. Thus, the fastest athlete received 12 points and the slowest only 1 point. Any rule infraction will result in a disqualification, and the athlete will receive 0 points for that discipline. At the end of the first round, the athletes with the lowest scores are eliminated. Only 8 athletes make it to the second round. In this second round, the remaining athletes compete in the single buck and the springboard for increased scores. With 2 points difference between placings, the fastest athlete now receives 16 points and the slowest receives 2. The 2 athletes with the lowest total points are eliminated at the end of round 2. Only the top 6 reach the third round. In the third round, anything is still possible in the hot saw, as an increased score interval of 3 points applies in this final round. The fastest athlete can score up to 18 points at the hot saw, the slowest only 3 points. The athlete who manages to achieve the highest total score across all 3 rounds is the new champion.
So as I mentioned, our first discipline is going to be the underhand chop, and let's take a quick look at the tool and discipline for the underhand.
The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it. Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes cut through a 32 centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides.
All right, so there we have our start list. Alessandro Ciapponi will be getting going against Günther Dahlinger. Alexander Maurice against Danny Martin. Pierre Puy-Barré against Michel Perrin. And it's going to continue on like that. Now, we should point out here that it is not a head-to-head elimination. We are having two athletes on stage. They are competing against each other, but it is about gaining the fastest possible cuts and therefore the best time and points for your relative country. So there you see Alessandro Ciapponi and Günther Dahlinger getting ready to go. You'll also see their information on stage on the screen. Occasionally we'll be able to talk a little bit about that, but there is Alessandro, the national pro champion for Italy 2023. A lot of hopes resting on his shoulders for the Italians.
There sure is.
Günther Dahlinger, 4th place in the National Pro Championship that we just did yesterday.
Okay.
There we go. And our first event is ready to go.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Nice quick start by Alessandro Ciapponi. Very important that you don't jump that gun. And these guys getting into the blocks right away. You mentioned earlier, Yolanda, that these guys are trying to cut more open faces on the first side to make sure they have less work to do on the second side. Ciapponi getting close to it.
That's right. You can see there, big flap came off of his block. That the judges will definitely take a look at that afterwards.
And it's going to be Günther Dahlinger getting through there in 32.47 to the delight of the local crowd here. Austria gets the first points on the board with a 32.47 time. Alessandro Ciapponi with a 35.58, but there is issue with his block, as Yolanda pointed out.
So you can see there, they're just trying to find that piece that broke off.
It's like putting a puzzle back together.
That's right.
Yeah, it's very important. In the rule book, it says they have to cut through from both sides. So the result of that big piece coming off could mean they didn't actually have a clean cut through. And this is the reason why there is the risk of a DQ here for Alessandro. We hope not, but let's see what Judge Bart says.
Both cuts is good.
All right, so obviously he put that puzzle back together. It's all good.
That's right. We'll see afterwards again in the close-up. They did have nails on that one side, and that is exactly there to prevent this from happening.
All right, let's pick this apart a little bit here. Maybe we can see it.
Both very strong axemen, good hits there. A little close to the foothold for my liking, but...
Yeah, I like my toes where they are, too.
Maybe we'll get another look here at the other side where he's chopping.
Here we see that final driver there from Günther Dahlinger. That stopped his time at 32.12. We should point out, if you were watching earlier, you know this, but if you're just joining us for the stream today, the times that we see immediately after the heat is over are unofficial until they've been corrected by our competition control center. Next heat up, Alexandre Maurice up against Danny Martin. Danny Martin, as you see, 3-time national pro champion for Germany. A lot of expectations from him personally as well from the German team.
Timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Nice even start by both Alexandra and Danny as they get into that first side, chipping out some nice big pieces. Alexander's not exactly a big guy, but he moves that axe quite quickly. Now, Danny's got a lot of power, though.
That's right, but Alexander has just as much power, small and mighty.
Small and mighty. He's a power packet that's tight. And he moves it very quickly. Who's going to get through there first? Danny Martin on the right-hand side of your screen. In the black, it's going to be Alexander Maurice. Oh, and a 25.50. He takes a personal best down. And Danny Martin's taking a quick look at his axe. There's something going on there. He needs to really work hard here because there has been issue with his block. He gets it, and it is split. But the time, 38.35, is not something that he is used to. He definitely cuts better than that. And the judges are going to take a quick look to make sure that is, in fact, cut through.
So there's always that danger when it splits like that, that there's just that small piece of wood that's still attached. And if that is the case, then it's a DQ.
Now, this is one of those things these guys have to really keep a close eye on. And what they'll do is they'll lift the block and see if the other block moves with it or if it gives a little bit of tension.
That's right.
It looks like it is actually cut through, so we at least hope for Danny's sake that it is cut through because there is issue with his block. Now they're looking at the foothold here as well. Oh man, he just can't buy a break today, it seems like.
No.
And Danny's found a knot in his block. He wants to make sure everybody sees that.
Yep, definitely.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Stand 1 is good. Stand 2, unfortunately, DQ cut his foothold.
Oh, that is a rough start for Team Germany with a cut foothold for Danny Martin. Absolutely not what the expectation was for them at all.
Definitely not. So we'll take a closer look here at this heat. They both have a pretty good frequency going there. Really hard hits. Those chips are just flying.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of power then they're swinging these axes, the control of the axe and the accuracy of the axe is so important. And one of the rules is you're not allowed to cut into the foothold. If you do, it's a safety issue, and that's why the DQ for Danny. And the day just continues to get worse and worse for Team Germany, in particular for Danny Martin. There is, or was, an issue earlier on prior to the start of competition with his block. We'll go into that shortly after the slow-mo here. You'll get a brief explanation about what happened there. And I think that we're going to actually have that explanation from Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger, what happened prior to Danny's run, and the fact that Team Germany will have a 5-point deficit going into the next heats here.
There is a rule, it is called no striking of the block, so it's not allowed for the athlete to mark the block with the axe or something else before the event. To cut the wood is only allowed on stage. And here we had the situation that Danny Martin marked the wood already at the preparation time with this axe. And this is a rule infraction. We discussed whether we give him a warning or a disqualification. But I think the medium in between, -5 points, is the correct rule infraction result. And therefore, he got a -5 point rule infraction.
So that's a tough situation for Danny and for Team Germany because, first of all, there's a 5-point infraction there, and the DQ means 0 points for Team Germany for the underhand chop. So that's a really hard start for them, and they're going to have to bust their buns the rest of the way in order to catch up.
Yes. Yeah. Not a fun way to start.
Yeah, it's a rough way to start for sure. Next heat is ready to go on stage, so we're going to head back up onto the stage and introduce you to our next pairing, and that is going to be Pierre Puy-Barré from France, who holds the national record at 16.79, and Michel Perrin, who is looking at a personal best of 24, excuse me, just shy of 25 seconds. So he'll be looking to make some major improvements here today. And it's one of those situations where you can say perhaps he'll play up to try and keep up with Pierre Puy-Barré, who is, I think they said, 9-time national champion. I mean, that's legendary status.
Okay. Athlete ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
And right away, Puy-Barré getting into it with massive drivers from on high.
a little stick there, but that doesn't phase him a bit.
Chiapponi's already, or excuse me, Perrin is already over to the other side of his block, and Puy-Barré jumped over to the second side of his block late. Could that have been a mistake by Perrin to jump over that early? No, it looks like it's been good for him as he cuts through it, and they're going to have to do a time adjustment there, but they stop the clock at 25.68. Puy-Barré struggling on the second side with a 29.09. That's well off pace for him. So more often than not, because of the high-speed cameras and the timing units in our competition control center, we will see a time drop for these guys. But because Michel did get back up and take a couple more drivers, that means they'll probably increase his time from 26 up a second or two.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both guns are good.
All right, so officially we have Michel Perrin with a 26.95 and Pierre Puy-Barré with a 31.36.
That like double his best time. Unreal. But you can see there a little bit darkened spot. That is the sign that there is a knot in there. It is a natural product. You gotta expect that there can be a knot in there. Just have to deal with it.
And Michel Perrin stepping down a couple of, almost 3 times there before he did that last driver to get through. And here we can see the final drivers from Pierre Puy-Barré. All right, so there we go. Our first few heats are getting in the books, and we're starting to get into the flow of the situation here. Coming up next, we have Switzerland's Cyril Pabst, who is the recent winner of the Swiss Championship. And also up there with him is Marcel Steinkemper from Germany. So Marcel is now under immense pressure, seeing as Danny had the DQ in the underhand chop to try and gain some good points. And Marcel does have an opportunity here. He's a very good axeman.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Cyril Pabst getting quickly into it, and you can see already there's a major slab waiting to come out on the right side of that block, and he is moving that axe fast. Marcel Steinkemper shifting over to the other side. How does that first side look to you?
Looks great on this side.
Cyril Pabst also right there. I know who you're cheering for. And Cyril Pabst is through at 26.04. Steinkemper at 27.61. Pretty good time. That puts Marcel in 4th place currently. So at the moment, that's 9 points for Germany. Alexander Maurice still atop the leaderboard with the underhand chop, and Cyril Pabst sitting in 2nd place just behind him with that 26.04. We'll wait for the official adjustment of time here and see if that makes a major difference.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both guns are good.
All right, so both cuts are good. The time is now officially locked in at 25.81. So just a little bit slower than Alexander Maurice as Cyril Pabst is in 2nd place. So let's break this down a little bit.
So there you see that big slab coming out. That's a huge advantage if you can get out as much wood right at the beginning. You want the least amount of hits on that side to do that switch. He did open fairly wide, Cyril, on the first side. So this side, you can see he went off his line to make it a little bit smaller, cut less wood, but still get the job done.
Well, it worked out for him, and he's sitting in 2nd place right now, and good points right there, if he can stay in that position for Team Switzerland. And those final drivers there from Marcel Steinkemper as well, as he's got a clean cut through. So right now, they're sitting with 9 points, Germany, for the underhand chop. That may change. There's still a few athletes yet to come. I do believe that we have Marcel Steinkemper with Floty over on our interview stage. Let's head over there and see what Marcel has to say about the start of this competition for Team Germany.
Yeah, thank you, Troy. Marcel is standing right next to me. Du bist ja einer, der das noch sehr gut in Erinnerung hat, wie das ist, als Rookie hier am Start zu sein. Jetzt bist du einer von den Pros, jetzt bist du einer von denen, die Verantwortung übernehmen müssen und auch ein bisschen die Jungen so führen müssen. Fühlt sich das gut an oder ist das schon ein bisschen eine Belastung?
Nein, also das ist wirklich ein tolles Gefühl. Man, wie du schon sagst, ich habe das ja alles selber miterlebt und weiß auch, wie die Jungs sich heute Morgen gefühlt haben. Und ja, das ist dann immer schön, denen dann auch noch mal ein bisschen was mitgeben zu können, was aus meiner Erfahrung, was ich so als Rookie erlebt habe und wie das alles so ist. Und es ist schon schön.
So Marcel says it's a great feeling to be one of the pros now, not only because he's older, but also because he knows exactly how it felt when he was a rookie, and he was very thankful for the pros giving him a hand and supporting him. And he said this morning, because the rookies, of course, are the ones starting off the competition, it's a very tough feeling, and he knew exactly how they felt. Eine Frage noch, Marcel. Stimmungstechnisch geht's ja hier seit gestern so richtig rund. Wie sehr hast du dem Wettkampf entgegengefiebert und hast dich gefreut, hier auch vor den Fans performen zu können?
Ja, also es ist natürlich immer was Besonderes, vor einer großen Kulisse anzutreten, und gerade hier in Seefeld, hier ist wirklich eine tolle Kulisse, auch drumherum um die Bühne, und ja, geht eigentlich nicht besser.
Also ich glaube, das darf man gerne mal mit einem Applaus belohnen. Das ist so ein sympathischer, netter Kerl, obwohl er auch wirklich gefährlich sein kann, wenn er dann oben auf der Bühne steht. Marcel, alles Gute ja für die weiteren Bewerbe. Es folgen ja noch 5. Thank you very much, Marcel Steinkemper. He is ready and he enjoys himself here in Seefeld. That's what he said. But I know Yolanda and Troy, you guys are enjoying yourselves as well, right?
Yeah, thank you, Floaty. We're having a good time here in the studio, although it is a little bit hot with the sun at our backs, but we'll live with it. Guido and crew had to live with it yesterday, so we're going to head back up onto the stage now and get into our next heat, heat number 5 with Armin Kugler and Marcin Dubiccy. And you can see Armin Kugler holding the national record of 19 and 12 for Austria. I mean, the guy is legendary. He's been around so long, and he is just so consistent and so good. There you see Marcin Dubiccy, silver medalist, National Pro Championship 23.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1. Go!
And the Dubiccy boys, they are taking no prisoners when they get on stage, so you got to keep an eye on them. Armin Kugler getting right into it. Look at the speed he is cutting. Already onto the second side. Dubiccy about a stroke and a half behind him now as he switched over onto the second side. And the time approaching 20 seconds is we going to have an under 20? My goodness, my English is fantastic. And that is a personal best for Dubiccy with 20.30. And I imagine that time is actually going to drop down a little bit when they get it through Competition Control Center. Armin Kugler with a 23.61 has moved into second place behind Marcin Dubiccy.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both girls are good.
Well, that one went by in the blink of an eye, and I saw your face when Marcin cut through. You're like, huh?
I was tipping on Armin Kugler.
Yeah, that was an unbelievably quick cut, and I mentioned, you know, they're taking no prisoners on stage. When the Dubickys are playing, they're playing for keeps. Wow, look at those chips coming off that block from Dubiccy.
If you have the right axe, perfectly sharpened, the amount of wood that you can take out in one hit. I think they try to do between 6 to 8 hits if possible, and then switch.
Yeah, that was a nice final cut from Dubiccy. Well done. Looked like a bit of a struggle on the second side for Armin Kugler as he takes a look at the time, and there, right there, was like, yeah, it's okay, but it's not my best. All right, next heat on deck, we have Marcin Dubiccy going up against, Christoph Geisler going up against Ferry Swan. I've jumped the gun here. Christoph Geisler, he is 49?
49.
49 years old, folks. Absolutely relevant, still in the mix. You do not want to underestimate that man. Ferry Swan as well, one of the younger athletes, but absolutely top-notch. Here we go.
2, 1, go!
What you'll notice about Ferry Swan is that he tends to take very short but quick chops. Geisler, on the other hand, very accurate and very quick as well. He's changed his style slightly over the years. And Christoph Geisler is first over to the other side. Ferry Swan 4 strokes back as he switches to the other side of his block. And we could see a couple of good times here. Christoph Geisler looks like he's getting there. 21.58 for Christoph Geisler, putting him in second place. Ferry Swan struggling on that second side. Was he too shallow on the first side at 29.18? That is unusual time-wise for Ferry Swan. He's 10 seconds slower than his his best time. And Christoph Geisler moves into second place behind Marcin Dubiccy. And Ferry Swan is down in 8th place, just behind Marcel Steinkemper's time.
Okay. Ball cut is good.
So as you mentioned earlier, the blocks are cutting a little bit shorter, a little bit slower today. Yeah, and you also mentioned axe choice is playing a big role in how these blocks are cutting. And I remember seeing some of the guys in the back there testing axes on some of the other blocks from the same tree stand. How much does that really affect, or how much are they really different between block and block?
There can be a huge difference between two blocks, because if they're not from the exact same tree and just piece after the other piece, anything could change. There could be a branch and not the way it grew. There can be a little bit of a difference.
Well, I didn't see any dark spots in Ferry Swan's block there, so it could be that maybe his axe choice was just not the one that he needed to have today. There are 8 different axe choices, or more, in fact, that you can choose from. And it's a big secret what the guys take when they go up on stage. We are into the action now today, but there's still plenty of action to come this season. And you can also check back at previous streams. Let's take a quick look at what we've done and what we're still coming to do. So we are here 3rd of September for the European Nations Pro Cup in Seefeld. 1st of October, the German Pro Championships happening in Essen in Germany. That's going to be on the live stream. And then, of course, on the 3rd and 4th of November, the Team World Championships and the Individual World Championships, respectively. And if you want to get back into the action, there is still video on demand from all the different events that we've had throughout the season. So if you want to just catch up on who's done what and where, that is plenty to be seen there as far as getting the history back up into finding out where you're at. All right, let's get into our final heat in the underhand chop, and our first discipline will be finished after this one. We'll take a look at the standings and see how it affects things so far. All right, Mikołaj Dubiccy and Emil Hansen. We've seen these guys battle it out before, but look at the national record fast time for Dubiccy, 14.19. Now, when he gets up there, keep a close eye, folks, on how quickly he moves that axe. Emil Hansen has also been absolutely outstanding. He and Ferry Swan have been fighting with each other in the national arena for quite a few years, but Emil Hansen has the pedigree that his father, Hans Ove Hansen, is there to guide him along.
Stand
That's right.
to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Now watch Mikołaj Dubiccy there. Quick axe movement. Emil Hansen with a big slab cut out there. Bit of a sticky axe as he switches over to the other side ahead of Dubiccy. Dubiccy opting to go with his butt to the audience for the second side of his block. So our cameraman can really see him grimacing at that block as we pass the 22-second mark for both of these guys. Emil Hansen's got it in 24:03. Dubiccy stepping down, and by virtue of stepping down and having to step back up, lost a couple of seconds, and he's got a 27.92.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Ball cut is good.
All right, so it started out looking like it was going to be fast, and it went a little bit slower than expected for both of these guys. Emil Hansen sitting in 4th place at the moment, with Mikołaj Dubiccy down in 9th place. Surprising spot for him to be in, because normally Mikołaj is much stronger in this discipline than he showed here today.
Yeah, he sure is. I think that last little bit there, that sticking of the axe and losing his balance is costing so many seconds there.
We should also point out that Mikołaj has been having some problems with the with his forearms. He's just got so much power there that there's had a few, I think they called it a blown cartilage or something like that in his forearm. So that's why he's wearing those the forearm brace there on his arms to help support the muscles. So underhand chop is done and dusted. Our first discipline is out of the way, and we can see right there as the standings in the first discipline are also our overall standings. And we are getting the stage set up for our next discipline coming up, and that is the stock saw, where the guys will be getting busy with the MS661 saw on stage.
So it'll be
All right, so there, quick look at where the Nations Cup is now that we are getting some points in there. Team Scandinavia still on top. Team Poland has snuck into second place, and Team Austria is now holding on to a nice third place. Still lots of action to go, though, folks, so don't worry. We're going to keep you fed with cutting and sawing till the end of this day in the afternoon. Let's get back into it with our tool and discipline for stock saw.
The STIHL MS661CM stock saw is used in STIHL Timbersports as the ultimate test of operator's skill. Designed for the toughest jobs in forestry, it produces approximately 7.3 horsepower, has a displacement of 91.1 cc, and weighs 7.4 kilograms. To ensure evenly and fairly matched saws, professional STIHL technicians prepare and test the saws before each competition. Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark, one downward and one upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks.
All right, so there is our heat list for the stock saw, and the first heat going to be Michel Perrin against Alexander Maurice. You might be looking at this and saying, hey, I can go and buy that saw in my local dealership and just start cutting and get some real good times, like maybe a season's best or a world record 8:51, but that's not actually the case, is it? There's a little bit more to it. It's not about the power, is it, Yolanda?
no, there's a lot more to it. A lot of technique and a little bit of strength.
But this is also something that's quite funny because you say, you know, you go out and train, and you train in the underhand, you train in the standing block chop, you train in the single buck. And the one thing a lot of guys don't train in is the stock saw. Why is that?
Everybody thinks they can run a power saw. So you think, yep, I can do that, that's fine. It's worked for me the last competition. I'll be fine for this one. But it is shown, paid off, train a little bit, and then you'll be able to prove your times.
Ready.
All right, well, let's see how this goes for our first stock saw heat.
3, 2, 1, go!
Great start by Alexander Maurice. Michel Perrin looked like he struggled to get the first grip quickly onto the saw, but he got it up there pretty quickly. Remember, 10 centimeters to cut 2 clean cookies and get them on the deck. And Maurice is going to have the first ones down. Wow, look how close that was. Perrin, I thought, was going to be a bit slower than Maurice, but he was, in fact, faster as the time stopped at 13 seconds. It didn't stop on my screen here. And he's not really satisfied, and it looks like he might have a cut line. I'm hoping that we don't have a DQ for Michel Perrin because 12.83 seconds is a personal best for him. And Bart Janssen is taking a very close look at that, and he'll also, in some cases, call over Dr. Jörg Kutzenberger, which is what's happening right now, to make sure they're both seeing the same thing there.
He had a very large second cookie.
Alexander Maurice with a 13.04. And it looks like we might have a DQ. I'm hoping not, but we'll see when the final word is said by Bart here.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand 1, DQ, cut the line. Stand 2 is okay.
Hate to see that. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why you guys say thin to win, right? You want to have a nice thin cookie. The thicker the cookie is, the less space you have to make those cuts. And obviously, that's what happened to Michel Perrin. Let's break it down a bit here.
So yeah, he did have a little fumble there, Mika, when he picked up the saw.
Oh my God.
He actually had a huge first cookie. I thought it was the other way around. But there you see how close they get to that line, and it's just so crucial to make sure that that stays on there.
Yeah, that quick transition by Michel Perrin put him over a little bit too far towards the line. That first cookie from Alexander Maurice was a massive one. Put some chocolate chips in there, and I'm satisfied. But boy, that second cookie from him, he had to be thin.
So you see a lot of the guys, the pros, they won't mark it. They know how to saw. They say, yep, I got it. I prefer to mark my block, look at the line, and try and hit it.
Makes sense. All right, stock saw heat 2. Gunther Dallinger, personal best of 11.39. Pierre Puy-Barret, a personal best of 10.08. Pretty closely matched up guys here, not only from their tail of the tape as far as their times are concerned, but also from their stature on stage. Both big boys, both very strong, and I would say in this case, Pierre Puy-Barré, definitely the man with a little bit more experience than Günther Dahlinger.
Indeed.
Heat number 2, please welcome from France, Pierre Puy-Barré, and from Austria, Günther Dahlinger.
So we've seen so far, we've only had one heat, but the times, they kind of match those of the rookies today.
Yeah, everything's running a little bit slower. Yeah? You mentioned earlier during the rookies that the altitude here could be affecting the way the saws are running, the fuel-air mixture, and how that affects the power output. And there's so many factors that play a role here.
Warm up your saw.
And these really are the workhorse saws for the industry. It's the STIHL MS661 saw.
Athletes ready.
One of the most dependable saws on the market.
Timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Two different styles of starting as well. Pierre Puy-Barré with a great start. A bit of an angle on the cut for Günther Dahlinger, so he's going to have to be careful on the transition to the upcut. Puy-Barré, it looks like he's got a nice thin cookie on the upcut, and his time is going to be good. 11.83. Günther Dahlinger with a 14.08. Ooh.
The cookie did break, but
did break.
it's still a complete cookie.
So this is part of that the puzzle-making kit that Bart Jansen always has. He's checking those cookies to make sure he can put the pieces back together, because if a complete cookie does hit the ground and breaks, it still counts as a complete cookie.
That's right. You can see here by Günther, he's went in straight and now changed the angle. So that means right by the saw, you're not cutting as much wood. So that's why we want to try and keep the saw going straight down the entire time. You can see that by Puy-Barré.
Yeah, he's got a nice thin cookie on the upcut there from Puy-Barré. That's Günther Dahlinger, excuse me. Still had space to the line. Puy-Barré, here's yeah, he's got two thin cookies on the deck, and by virtue of the second cookie being as thin as it was, it hit the deck and broke, but it was still okay, so both cookies were good. And it looks like we are ready for heat number 3 with Marcin Dubiccy and Alessandro Chiapponi. And we could see the personal best for these guys are all around 10, 11, 12 seconds. There's not really any of these guys that are outside of the 15-second mark on the cut. The world record, I believe we're looking at 8 seconds and change here. Let me just double check that for stock saw. Yeah, 8:51, still held by the Norwegian Ole Magnus Sulje Berget from 2021.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Marcin Dubiccy on the left-hand side of your screen, Alessandro Chiapponi on the right. Alessandro looks like he's got a nice thin cookie to start things off with. Transition looked pretty good. It could be a clean upcut for him. Dubiccy pulling a bit hard, and it's Alessandro with a 14.11, Dubiccy with a 15.06.
It's usually that last second that gets you when you just want to get that saw out of the wood.
Congratulations, both cuts are good.
Yeah, and I guess the excitement of pulling that saw up and trying to get it out can sometimes cause the saw to bog down a little bit or the chain to stop, and then you're really in trouble.
That's right. So 2 different styles there.
So you can see that's I'm going to say that's a good 2 centimeter thick cookie that he's got cutting. And it appears though as Chiapponi's cookie is a little bit thinner than that, maybe not by much, but it gives them a little bit more space to make a mistake and correct for on that second cut.
That's right.
These guys are pretty seldom making those mistakes though. And right there you can see, oh, the chain actually did stop for Marcin.
So just briefly. Crucial seconds.
Yeah. All right. So Danny Martin, after his DQ in the underhand chop, he is absolutely an expert when it comes to the motor saw in hand. This is his opportunity to do some damage and really get back into the mix, maybe to try and excise some of those demons from that first DQ and those 5 points for his team. So he's got to really cut well here today.
Okay, gentlemen. Warm up your saw.
Cyril Pabst. Personal best is 11 seconds. So Danny Martin, definitely the stronger of the stock sawyers here. I just hope that his headspace is where it needs to be.
Yeah. Athlete ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Really good start by Martin. Gets right into it, but he's cutting at an angle. Cyril Pabst maintaining a calm demeanor as he gets that upcut going. Danny Martin struggling a little bit on the upcut. And it's going to be a bit slower than Danny Martin is used to, but both of those guys very close to each other. Cyril Pabst slightly faster on the upcut. Danny Martin was faster on the initial cut, but Cyril Pabst had a better second cut, and Danny Martin has got 2 cookies on the deck, which I hope are going to be allowed. It looks like it is.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Both shots are good.
So Pierre Puy-Barré still holding the top spot in the stock saw results. Cyril Pabst just sneaks into second place ahead of Danny Martin, who with a 12:28 time is in third place. So that's definitely points that he would like to keep now at this point.
Definitely, because you're not only competing for yourself, but you're also competing for your team. So you don't want to let your team down, even though you've had a rough start. See, once the upcut, both of them, same angle there.
Yeah, you can see Danny Martin also, this is what you were saying a lot, that the angle of his cuts were down towards the inside of the block both times. First cut down at an angle and the second cut up at an angle, so he had to be really careful about getting that line on the upcut. Good to be lucky, lucky to be good. All right, up next we have Mikołaj Dubiccy up against Ferry Swan. For quite a couple of years, when Ferry Swan first jumped into the pro ranks, he was like, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with my saws. I hate to do it, and they love to make it rough on me.
Okay, gentlemen.
But more recently, he's become very adept with the saw, and you can see there his personal best is under 10 seconds. So that tells you that he's been working a lot on his sawing disciplines here.
And in the end, those are the easiest points to catch by the stock saw.
Are they really, though?
Ready.
Stand
If you
to
train.
your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Very nice start by both the guys. Dubiccy with a bit of a thick cookie there. Ooh, Ferry Swan with a fat one as well.
Wow, look at that changeover.
Transfer to the upcut was nice and clean. Dubiccy slightly faster than Ferry Swan. 12:56 to 13:26. Let's see how that changes things here a little bit. So Mikołaj Dubiccy with a 12:56 in fourth place. Ferry Swan in sixth. And if I take a quick peek at the overall standings, Cyril Pabst and Team Switzerland, or Cyril Pabst is sitting in the top spot. So at the moment, Switzerland has the advantage here in our pro contest. And they are checking out, oh, it looks like maybe Ferry Swan might have tagged that disc on the way up. Interesting. So that would be a rough situation for the Scandinavian crew because they've been leading up until this point. So no points have been allotted yet as this is under review and just waiting for contest or the control center to be contacted by Bart Janssen here as they discuss what happened on the bottom of that block. It looks like some of the bark actually just got knocked away. Maybe it happened when it fell down. Oh, we do have a video review, so they will go into the competition control center and take a quick look at what happened here as Bart Janssen does a little bit of experimenting on stage, and there we see what happens occasionally. The yellow flag is out, so we'll head in to see STIHL Janssen, and they'll discuss in the competition control center what is actually going on. And you can see as they look at that slow motion camera how many frames they can really just go so close to the action and see what happened.
Janssen in full control of all the cameras. Showing that Kurzenberger what might have happened or what has happened.
So they're just going back and forth, trying to see to put this together. Did he move down, tap it a bit, and then go for that second cookie?
Yeah, this is the critical point, and this is one of the reasons why we have all of those cameras on stage. They're filming from multiple angles. You could see all of the different screens in there, all the different angles, and that's what these guys are taking a close look at right now, because if he did, in fact, tap that block, then that counts as incomplete cookie, and
That's
it
right.
would be, in fact, a DQ. So that was heat number 5 between Mikołaj Dubiccy and Ferry Swan. We're just waiting to find out what the results, and you could see, now I'm not sure if they're looking at whether it was a jump start or if it was actually the tap. I think it was the tap at the bottom, and what I'm seeing from the video there is that cookie actually hit the deck, rolled back, and got caught by the chain. In my world, that would mean, okay, it's not a tap where, you know, he had any control over the situation, and it would be deemed a legal cut.
That's right. Yep, there you go. We just saw how it hit the bar and then came flying back. But when they were out there taking a look at the cookies, both cookies did have
It did look that way.
a piece missing. So maybe one they could piece back together, and the other one would have been the situation where the bar touched it, or the cookie touched the bar.
All right, so we're just going to wait for the final decision, and we are on pins and needles at the moment as Bart Janssen, Ferry Swan, and Mikołaj Dubiccy are waiting on stage to find out what the final result will be when Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger comes out after the long discussion with Jules Janssen there in the competition control center. So this is what we're waiting on right now as they review it one more time. Ah, yes, I could see what happened there. It rolled around to the front of the bar, the chain was rotating, and it shot it back, and that's where the contact happened. But that doesn't explain the little piece missing on the second cookie. So your observation there was absolutely correct. So pins and needles now as Dr. Jörg Kurzenberger comes back out onto stage, and he'll pass on the information to Bart Janssen, and then we will have our final decision. So it looks like he's relaying that over the headset to him right now.
Nerve-wracking moments.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, stand 1. Okay, stand DQ, incomplete disc.
That is a rough one for Ferry Swan. He's going to want to talk about that one with the judges after this competition is over. I'm not in there. I didn't see the screen up close, but from my perspective, and I think we both agree on this, it looked like the cookie rolled back into the chain of the saw. Let's take a look at the slow-mo here and see if we can actually see it.
So that is a pretty big cookie that he had there.
Same with Mikołaj Dubiccy, huh?
Yeah, and I know he said afterwards it looked like a...
So let's watch this here. It rolled into it, so that's where that initial cut happened. So the question is, what was the incomplete part of the second? I mean, you can't really control that, and I don't understand it myself. So I think I might have a talk with Bart Janssen as well to find out from the horse's mouth, so to say, what's really going on, because that's a confusing moment for me as well, and I think probably for Ferry Swan as well. All right, moving on to heat number 6, second to last heat. This one between Marcel Steinkemper and Emil Hansson. So the stage has been ready for quite some time. That it took quite a while for that discussion, and obviously they were wanting it to be really properly set up. I mean, it's not like they just went in there, looked at the picture and said, okay, whatever, it's a DQ for Ferry Swan. They took their time with it. They really made sure. So I can't argue with their decision, but I have questions about it myself.
Yeah, same here. So you can see that line that Bart just drew on the top. That is the line that all the fingers have to be passed by when they say go.
All right, so a couple of young guys here going up against each other. Emil Hansen, I believe, stepped up with Marcel Steinkemper into the pro ranks at the beginning of last year. So they are in their sophomore seasons as pros, and they're competing against each other on stage here. So they can both be very proud of how they've been performing over the last couple of years.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, good start by both of them. Marcel was on that quick. Oh, but that is a massive, massive cookie for Marcel. He's in trouble. He's got to go back up to the top because he realized he had way too much cookie there, and he is recutting. This is an important thing. This was a smart decision by Marcel, but now he's got to be real careful about that second cookie to make sure he gets it complete. And that's going to be a rough time for Marcel Steinkemper, 22:57. And if he does have 2 complete cookies, he'll be okay. And to be honest with you, that was fantastic.
That was a
you
very
can see
good
him just tapping his head there. It was fantastic that he recognized that, went back and recut. Otherwise, he would have had a DQ because there was no room to cut a second cookie.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
Oh.
All right, so it's gotten a little bit bananas here. We've got 2 disqualifications already in the stock saw, Michel Perrin and Ferry Swan. The hope now is that Emil Hansen and Marcel Steinkemper's times will be good. But look at this first cookie. That is massive. And he noticed it right away here. He's into the cut of it, and he's like, whoa, wait a minute. I got to stop here and get back up. Actually, he was quite far into the cut.
He was almost to the bottom.
Yeah.
But right decision, because you have to have that down cut and that up cut. He couldn't have just decided, oh, I'll just do 2 cookies up or as what he wants. He has to have 1 down and 1 up.
You can see here Emil Hansen leaning into that saw on the upcut because you told me the other day that saw wants to kick back towards you. So the guys are using their legs to balance the saw. And here, Marcel just took his time. He didn't rush it in this case to make sure they had a really thin second cookie and that he wasn't going towards that line that he had already cut and not had a complete cookie. So that was a very intelligent decision by him. All right, stock saw heat number 7, and that will be 2 disciplines done and dusted after this one. And it is Christoph Geisler and Armin Kugler. These are 2 gentlemen that have battled in the past many a time. And Christoph Geisler, at 49 years old, still holds the national record for stock saw, as does Armin Kugler for Austria.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Christoph Geisler, always the perfectionist here with a beautiful thin cookie. Armin Kugler, not as thin, but still good quality. Nice transition by both of the guys. Armin Kugler a bit quicker on the upcut, maybe. Ooh! Oh. Wow, look at that! 14:59 to 14:50. That was about as close as it gets today. Quick check to make sure they've got 2 good cookies on the deck, and Christoph Geisler and Armin Kugler, so well matched up, these 2. Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
All right, so we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at that slow motion. Then we'll see the results of the stock saw, and then we'll find out where this puts us as far as the overall standings in the pros, and then I'm hoping we'll also get a page to look at with the rankings in the Nations Cup.
You can see that change over there, very smooth, very quick. Another small, thin cookie. That's the way you want. And both almost simultaneously finishing that cut.
Wow, look how close this was at the end, though. I mean, it's milliseconds here. And if I look at this here, it's Christoph Geisler with a 14.44, Armin Kugler with a 14.32 after adjustment. So that's about as close as it gets with 2 really evenly matched up athletes. Now, we talked about that DQ from Ferry Swan earlier. We had questions about it, and I said I was going to go and talk to the judges myself later on. Well, we don't need to. We're going to head over to Floaty. He is with Dr. Jörg Kutzenberger, who is going to explain what exactly happened with that DQ of Ferry Swan.
Well, thank you very much, Troy. Jörg Kurzenberger, du hast dir sehr, sehr viel Zeit genommen, diese Entscheidung zu fällen. Ihr habt euch das Video noch einmal genau angesehen. Was war genau das Problem bei Ferry Swans Cut?
Ja, also der Cut von Ferry Swan war insgesamt ein sehr spezieller Cut, weil beide Scheiben, die er geschnitten hat, sahen unvollständig aus. Und daher muss ich eben beide Schnitte sozusagen nochmal kontrollieren. Folgendes ist passiert, also er hat die erste Scheibe gesägt und als dann die erste Scheibe nach unten gefallen ist, ist die Scheibe quasi auf seine Säge gefallen. Das heißt, der erste Schnitt in der ersten Scheibe war deshalb, weil die Scheibe auf seine Säge gefallen ist. Alles okay. Aber dadurch, dass sich dadurch die Säge etwas bewegt hat, hat er die zweite Scheibe schon leicht berührt, bevor er geschnitten hat. Und in der Folge war dann die zweite Disc dann unvollständig und das führte dann zur DQ.
Das klingt ja fast schon ein bisschen nach Detektivarbeit. Also gibt es oft so Situationen, wo man dann so genau schauen muss, wo man dann wirklich die gesamte Technologie, die zur Verfügung steht, auch wirklich nützt?
Ja, also es ist tatsächlich so, wenn man unser Regelwerk liest, dann denkt man ja immer, ja gut, Cut Foothold, keine komplette Scheibe, das sind immer so Schwarz- und Weiß-Entscheidungen. Aber jetzt hat man es gesehen, das ist tatsächlich nicht so. Es gibt ab und an mal, ich nenne es mal Graubereiche und dafür sind wir Schiedsrichter dann da, dass wir dann in einer Sisyphus-Arbeit oder Detektivarbeit dann das richtige Ergebnis finden.
Vielen Dank, Jörg Kurzenberger. Vielleicht an dieser Stelle auch nochmal einen Riesenapplaus für unsere Judges, die das wirklich nicht auf die leichte Schulter nehmen und sich bemühen, hier für alle Athleten eine perfekte Situation herbeizuführen. Well, Troy, you see what happened. I've just been explained. Ferry Swan had two cookies that looked incomplete. The first one was incomplete because it dropped onto the saw, so that was all right. But while it dropped onto the saw moved and made the second cookie incomplete. So at the end of the day, it wasn't the first cookie that was done, but the second cookie was the one that caused the problem and caused the DQ at the end. Hope you understood, because it took me some time to get what he was talking about. Back to you guys, Yolanda and Troy.
Thanks, Floaty. Yeah, that was a very confusing situation for us as well. Yolanda and I were discussing it while we were listening as well to what Jörg was saying. So a little bit of unluckiness there for those guys. All right, let's take a look at our stock saw list there. Pierre Puy-Barré with the fastest time, only by 29 hundredths of a second over Cyril Paps from Switzerland. Then Danny Martin has redeemed himself in the third fastest time in the stock saw. Let's take a look at the overall standings here, and maybe we can see how that's affected the overall standings for our pros. And then after that, I would love to be able to see what the results are looking like on the European side. So Cyril Paps has now taken over the lead in the overall standings here with Alexander Maurice in second place and Emil Hansen from the Swedish side in third place. So that's changed things quite a bit. Danny Martin right down there at the bottom of the list. Marcel Steinkemper has a little bit of work to do as well as we get set up for our next discipline. And before that, we take a look here at the Nations Cup. So look at that. 13.5 points for Team Scandinavia. France just behind them by 25 or like 25 hundredths of a point there with 13.25. So it's close between Scandinavia and France. France is still in the mix, and the rest of the guys are battling to find their way through. So it's looking good.
It's crazy.
Yep, it is at that. So next discipline, we have the standing block chop. Let's take a look at that discipline breakdown right now. Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 30 centimeters has to be cut through both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result. Okay, so there we have our start list for standing block chop, and as you saw, it's like felling a tree. Danny Martin up against Alexander Maurice in that first heat, and it's another opportunity here. Danny Martin definitely redeemed himself, and I'm kind of harping on Danny Martin here a little bit because it was a bit of an unfortunate situation at the start of our show here today. And so Alexander Maurice and Danny Martin going to be in heat number 1, and we will see if this will be an opportunity for him to increase the points for Germany. He's very good with the axe. We know that he can swing it. So let's see how he does in standing block chop. And we take a look at the beautiful scenery here and all the fans hanging out on the grasslands behind the arena area here. And behind us, the arena is full of fans screaming and yelling and having a good time and enjoying the beautiful weather here in Seefeld, Austria, in the Tyrolean Alps. Fantastic location to vacation. All right, Danny Martin there, up against Alexander Maurice. World record, unbelievable, 11 seconds. Danny Martin with a personal best of 22:51. Alexander Maurice with a personal best of 24:81. So I'm not going to say super evenly matched up. We also know that these guys have been training all season long. And we're just waiting for our judges to come back up on stage because it seems like they've decided they wanted to have a quick coffee break. I don't know. A lot of discussions going on backstage, perhaps with what's going on stage earlier on. And our athletes coming out onto stage right now. And our judges as well. And there you see the Olympia badge and the enclosed swimming pool, and the area where all those people are standing. That's an ice arena in the wintertime, which I found out the other day. And I'm really stoked to come back up here in the wintertime and maybe do a little bit of skating. So Danny Martin, he is not liking that block. That's a face of concentration as he gets ready for standing block. Alexander Maurice blowing out some of the butterflies.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Now, as we mentioned with the rookies earlier on, Yolanda, it's really important to get those cuts at the right angle in this discipline.
That's right, you can see by Danny Martin, the bottom, it's so smooth, and he just split his block, so we'll just see how that's gonna work for him, because that means there's more vibrations in the block, and it's harder for him to knock it off.
Yeah, with each time he drives that axe in there, the block moves instead of cutting it. Boy, that's a nice time, though, for Danny Martin, 24:78. He'll take that under the conditions at the moment. Alexander Maurice still trying to get through there, and he does it in 33:04.
Definitely not happy with that, but look on his face.
What's going through your mind as an athlete when you see that block split? Are you going, oh my God, no?
It depends if you noticed it at the start. You definitely notice it once you switch to the other side and start chopping out that wood. It is nerve-wracking, but you have to deal with it. You gotta get through.
All right, Danny Martin with a 24:24 after adjustment. Alexander Maurice with a 32 and change. 32.73. You see some big slabs coming off of Danny Martin's block on the far side. Let's see if we see where that actually split.
So right by that, no, by the next, he's got one more. And there you go, there you saw how it split.
I missed that completely. I'm glad you're here with me because I completely would have not seen that at all. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It is shaking and baking up there.
How the gap opens every time he hit there.
So it's almost like a suspender or a suspension system on a bike, you know? It's absorbing the hit before it actually allows the axe to cut. All right, Gunther Dahlinger against Cyril Pabst. This should be an interesting matchup. Cyril Pabst and I mean, how many guys can say they're still a professional athlete at 48, 49 years old? It's unbelievable. Cyril Pabst, the winner of the Swiss National Championship last weekend, he is a focused man.
He doesn't look older than 39.
No, he doesn't look a day older than 39. Yeah.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber.
I'm still 12 years old inside.
3, 2, 1, go!
All
big
right,
hits there. A little bit flat.
Just taking some big pieces out. Gunther Dahlinger switching to the other side, about 3.5, 4 strokes behind Cyril Pabst on the second side here. Cyril Pabst's cuts look really clean. Should be through any second now. Looks like he had it, but needed to go back and give it one more. 26.78, Gunther Dahlinger with a 30.47. So at the moment, Danny Martin's time of 24:24 is the time to beat in standing block chop. He's going to be, as they say in Germany, pressing his thumbs or crossing his fingers with the hope that nobody else can get faster times on those blocks today.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
So there's a beautiful start by Cyril Papsen. We noticed on his first side, his cuts were very, very clean.
Gunther has a bit of a flat hit there. He's not following his lines.
The lines are drawn on there with a wax pencil in order to give these guys, you know, a guideline of where to hit. Do you actually see them when you start getting into the wood? Are they still there in your thought process or in your vision, or are you just sort of automated by you know, the training?
Well, as long as you hit your first couple of hits right on those marks, then it's still there.
What amazes me is these guys see exactly when they're making the hits, when it's going to go off. Now, we saw with Cyril Paps there, it looked like he was going for that final power hit to drive it off, and then he needed to come back and hit one more time before it actually fell off.
Yeah.
All right, so we do have another interview for you, this time with Cyril Paps, who was just on stage. We're going to head, with Gunther Dahlinger, who was just on stage. He's over there with Flotti right now. Maybe.
Oh, we're already online. Günther Dahlinger, komm, stell dich her zu mir. Ich habe jetzt leider keinen Kontakt gehabt. Genau. Präsentiert sich hier seinen Fans. Wir wollen dich natürlich auch in der Kamera haben, lieber Günther. Die haben dich richtig gefeiert, ja, bei diesem Durchgang. Hat es dir Spaß gemacht? Hat es richtig gebrannt?
Richtig viel Spaß macht das, ja.
Du hast ja gestern schon richtig abgeliefert, ja, bei den österreichischen Staatsmeisterschaften. Man hat das Gefühl, du bist hier doppelt motiviert. Spüre ich das richtig oder kommt man das nur so vor?
Nein, das passt schon. Und dadurch, nach dem Bewerb geht es mit dem Training gleich weiter noch, für Team-WM. Das passt schon. Ich bin gut drauf zurzeit.
Wie sieht's, ja, da darf gerne Zwischenapplaus gespendet werden. Wie sieht's aus mit den Kraftreserven im Moment?
Kraft haben wir, aber Technik, an der muss ich noch nicht arbeiten.
Er sagt, Kraft hat er genug, an der Technik muss er arbeiten. Da unterstützen wir ihn, dass die Technik gut funktioniert in den nächsten Bewerben. Nochmal ein Riesenapplaus für Günther Dahlinger. Hält die rot-weiß-roten Farben heute hoch. Troy, Yolanda, you probably understood. He has a lot of power. He says no problem that yesterday at the Austrian National Pro Championships he lost a bit of power. It's all about the technique and he still has to improve that. That's what he said. But he's very motivated because the crowd is giving him so much support. So he's very much looking forward to the next disciplines. So let's give him a thumbs up and let's see if he gets through to the next round being under the top 8.
All right, well, I've heard that many a time before, and it's all about technique. Reminds me of an old 90s commercial for riding bikes and doing exercise. All about technique! Yeah, but I mean, these guys really do have to have clean technique on stage. There's no doubt about it.
That's right.
All right, next heat coming up. Heat number 3 in our standing block chop. Marcel Steinkemper going up against Mickey Perrin. We should point out that this is discipline number 3, which means it's the last discipline in round 1, and we will eliminate some athletes from our list. We'll take 8 athletes into round 2, remembering that it's also about gaining as many points as possible for the European Cup rankings. So there we see Michel Perrin.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Marcel Steinkemper is an excellent form on this one here. He's always good with the standing block chop. Michel Perrin also very good moving over to the other side quite quickly. And look at the power he's putting in there. Some big chips flying.
It'll be interesting to see if it pays him off.
He's almost there by the looks of it. He can feel it. And no, look at that, a personal best for Michel Perrin and for Steinkemper. Fantastic, a 22.85 for Perrin and a 25.77 for Steinkemper. 2 personal bests and our first 2 personal bests in the standing block chop. And Michel Perrin moves to the top of the standing block chop rankings with that race. Nicely done.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boat guns are good.
There you go, a couple of personal bests going down by the wayside and into the ocean. I like it. I love to see personal bests go. Regardless of what the time is, it tells you that these guys are making improvements. Look at the action, there'll be these two monsters on stage.
So you just saw that big chunk of wood that was in Michel's way. That probably cost him a little bit of power for that hit to get that piece out of the way.
He was around to the other side, a good 3-4 drivers ahead of Marcel Steinkemper. Marcel, he had it really close to the end, and I think he had one more power driver. He wanted to get it off, and it didn't go for him. Right there, you could just see it, and then, yeah, again, that slow motion. Oh, and he got so stuck in there. That was a rough one.
And you have to
man.
be very careful when your axe gets stuck like that on your last hit, that you are pulling it back out the same way it came in, because if you move it up and down a little bit, then it's wrenching.
Yeah, good point. All right, heat number 4 coming up with Alessandro Ciapponi and Marcin Dubiccy. Alessandro Ciapponi recently out of, also last year, I believe, was his first full year as a pro. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
He either exited the rookies mid last year or was a pro beginning of last year, but he has really made a statement for Italian timber sports as one of their premier sawyers and choppers.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Marcin Dubiccy getting right into it. Interesting stance for him as, Ciapponi decides to try and take out some of the wood. That's going to kill some of his time and some of the action on the block there. Wow, look at the power by Marcin Dubiccy there as he moves over to the other side. Ciapponi on the other side of his. A bit of salad on that first side might cause him problems getting through on the second side. And Dubiccy with a 28-19. Ciapponi almost there. He's got 3-4 more drivers perhaps. 2 drivers will do it. 35-62 for Ciapponi. So that puts him in 8th place in the standing. Block chop Marcin Dubiccy in 5th place. Michel Perrin still holding the top spot. Interestingly enough, though, places 2 and 3 in standing block right now belong to the Germans, Danny Martin and Marcel Steinkemper, respectively. So good job.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Both shots are good.
All right. This is the one discipline where you're seeing the least amount of DQs, I feel like. Whether it's the rookies or the pros, we're getting the least amount of DQs here because really the only thing that you can DQ is if you have a false start, right?
That's right. False start or out of time. So you saw that big piece in the way again there by Ciapponi. He did take the time to try and hit it away. He should have just went for it and hit it, but it's a safety thing. In training, you tend to stop, make sure that piece is out of the way, and then continue.
All right, folks, welcome back in studio here. Well, I mean, we're halfway into our final discipline in round 1, and we have to say thank you to one of our presenting sponsors because this event doesn't happen without them. So please watch this, and a big thank you to Lipia.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, so big thanks to Liebherr for being our presenting sponsor here at the STIHL Timbersports. Without them and their partnership, these events don't happen, and of course, we always appreciate the support that makes us be able to do these events all over the world. Okay, so our stage is almost set for heat number 6 or 5 and 6 coming up, and that is going to be Mikołaj Dubiccy up against Armin Kugler. Again, two guys that have been battling against each other in previous events, and it's going to be an interesting heat between these two as well, because they both have interesting styles on standing block chop. All right, so it sounds like that our athletes are coming up onto stage here, so we will get headed over to the stage for standing block chop heat number 5 with Mikołaj Dubiccy and Armin Kugler.
We got two machines here.
We do. So you can see those sleeves that Mikołaj Dubiccy is wearing, compression sleeves to help maintain the stability of the muscles in his arms and the tendons as well. I talked to him about it briefly at the Polish Championships when he actually stopped the competition at the European Trophy and said he can't go anymore because his arms just weren't working. He tried to explain it to me a little bit, but yeah, I'm glad to see him out here and competing, and I'm glad to see that he's in more or less good shape. And because Armin Kugler is so big and so tall, they have to reposition that one block a little bit away from his swing position.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So as I mentioned, two different styles here. Dubiccy going for a lot of pace, and Armin Kugler aiming for power and precision. Dubiccy over to the other side of his block, I believe, first. No, they're pretty much over at the same time. Oh my goodness, that was an incredible time for Dubiccy. 15:76 and a personal best. Armin Kugler with a 20:11. Nice.
Didn't you say he was slightly injured?
Did I say that? I might have been lying. Or maybe he's playing possum, I don't know. But that was a fantastic run from Mikołaj Dubiccy.
That was amazing.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Both cuts is good.
All right, so there you go. These two guys with, by virtue, personal best for Armin Kugler. Interesting. I don't know about that.
They were corrected.
They did some correcting on the time, so it is a personal best for Armin Kugler and a little bit of a correction for Dubiccy with a 17:25. And strange. It was quite interesting. Doesn't matter. Mikołaj Dubiccy with the fastest time of the day so far. Armin Kugler second fastest, and that means they push Miki Perrin down into third position as those two gentlemen that were just on stage occupy positions 1 and 2.
And you saw the power by Mikołaj Dubiccy. He just did those two bottom hits and then just drivers the rest of the way.
Yeah, he stayed on top and he was just going for it. Another big angry man not liking his block at all. All right, next heat coming up, the second to last heat in round 1, and that's Ferry Swan going up against Christoph Geisler. You see Christoph Geisler holding the national record for Switzerland of 17:44, and a personal best for Ferry Swan is slightly faster at 16:47. Ferry Swan very often takes either the underhand chop or the standing block chop in the team competition, so you know he's good here.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
And that all-important standing block chop in the team competition is the anchor position. It's the last discipline, and you can see exactly why they put Ferry Swan in there. He's already over to the other side of his block in under 10 seconds. And he is just really going for it. Christoph Geisler, a little bit of a sticky axe there as he is chipping out nicely. Ferry Swan got a sticky one too, but he's got himself a 20.86. And Christoph Geisler at 24.60, so he just snuck in there ahead of Miki Perrin in third place. Ferry Swan did. Christoph Geisler slips into 6th place in the standing block chop results.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. Both cuts are good.
All right, so a couple of good cuts there, and we are almost through round 1 here, as we have one more heat to go in the standing block chop. The guys will clean up the stage, put one pair of stands up as we take a look back at the slow-mos here. Oh, big chip.
So very good angle there for Christoph Geisler. He is an amazing axeman. Ferry just so quick, so strong.
You can actually say about Ferry Swan, he is probably one of the most fit athletes on the tour.
That's right.
You can see the pieces of wood flying into our video shot there from Ferry Swan's block as Christoph Geisler is working hard on his second side.
A bit of a stick there, but that last hit was enough to knock it off.
All right, so we have one more heat to go in this first round. So we've had 3 disciplines up until now. The final heat, heat number 7, in the standing block chop with Pierre Puy-Barré up against Emil Hansen, a couple of big boys that are good with the axe in hand. So I'd be very curious to see how this one goes down. I mentioned that Ferry Swan is sometimes the anchor man for the team competition. Emil Hansen can also slip into that position as well. By the way, folks, if you want to get involved in the conversation, you can see just down below me there is the hashtag for STIHL Timbersports. We do have another hashtag called Kiss My Axe. Don't let me misspeak that one. There it is. So if you want to get involved in the conversation, send some notes in, send some pictures from the events you're participating in or just being a viewer at, do get involved. We'd love to see your comments online and know what you guys are thinking out there. Yolanda, one more heat to go in this underhand chop, and we haven't seen any DQs so far. We did mention that this is one of the events where the least DQs happen. What are your thoughts so far on what we've seen?
Well, it's been such a close-knit race out, so we'll just see what these two guys do, and then we'll see where we have those overall standings.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how this changes the overall standings because there have been quite a few, I wouldn't say upsets, but there have been quite a few unexpected results here. Pierre Puy-Barré getting ready to go up against Emil Hansen.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2,